Hi, I'm Ann-Marie Hermans and I'm here on the mezzanine level of the Victorian State Parliament Library in a small museum of artefacts, and here we have one of my favourite things. It's a suffragette tea set. A delicate white teapot and cup and saucer with the words "Votes for Women," and it has gold-rimmed edges. You know, I often wonder about the conversations that must have taken place over a cup of tea with a tea set like this. You might know that suffragettes were activists for the Votes for Women campaign in the United Kingdom movement, which started about 1840 and ended in 1920. Some women went to great lengths to make their point, using art, debate, propaganda, attacking property and other extreme acts. But in Australia, the suffragettes movement was peaceful and persistent. Thousands of resilient and bold women joined together to eventually create history. With their efforts in mind, we should never forget the strength of our collective womanhood to make the world a fairer and better place to live. A forgotten history happened right here in Victoria. There's a wonderful moment in the world of history that can easily be overlooked because it was very short-lived. Did you know that in 1863 some Victorian women were accidentally given the right to vote when our Victorian Parliament passed a law to allow all ratepayers on municipal rolls to vote in Assembly elections? In 1864 some bold Victorian women took advantage of the oversight and cast their votes for the very first time. Can you imagine the victory these women must have felt? Sadly, the opportunity only lasted a short time when, after a short debate in Parliament, the vote was restricted to only male ratepayers with the Electoral Law Consolidation Act of 1865. A handful of women from the Women's Christian Temperance Union and the Victorian Temperance Alliance, with other suffragette groups, went door to door to gain the right for women to vote in Victoria. 33,000 Victorian women signed the monstrous Victorian Women's Suffragette petition in less than 6 months, and it was tabled right here in Victorian Parliament, September 1891. Isabella Goldstein and her daughter Vida spent 6 weeks travelling by train and on foot to gather signatures. Despite this, the Victorian Legislative Council, the upper house which I'm part of, refused to give women the right to vote. Women in Victoria could not vote until 18th of November 1908. Today, in the 60th Parliament of Victoria, for the first time in history, the Victorian Legislative Council has more women than men, and I'm honoured to serve in our local community as one of these women. In fact, today, in the whole of Parliament, we have equal numbers now. And women have a lot to offer our world, and we should never forget this. Not forget the brave women who set an example of who we are and what we can become. Our mothers and grandmothers, sisters and girlfriends have been role models, and many great women like them have forged history before us and alongside us, so we can create a great future for our girls. The next time you turn on your kettle, remember the beauty and the boldness of our femininity and our being female, the many Victorian and Australian women too who persisted to give us all a voice and a future. Wishing you all a wonderful International Women's Week, and to quote Proverbs, many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. May you never forget your immeasurable value and worth as you celebrate with your next cup of tea.